because you know I'm not gonna push through. And I was just like, why would you think that? What is going on? Now we're cooking with gas. Let's go. The curiosity died. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about a few friggin' books that I read for a little project with my friends and with you, my audience. So I did this with Elle. It was Elle's idea, Elliot Brooks, and Roger. And I don't think Elle asked anyone else. So I think it was just the three of us doing this, where we each gave a recommendation to the other two of based on what I know of your reading tastes, that a book I know you haven't read that I think you will quite enjoy. And then we each did that for each other, and then we each asked you, our audiences, to also recommend and to vote. And from that, I had two that were kind of tied, that I had my channel members be a tiebreaker on it. But I actually ended up picking up both of the audience recommendations that kind of were tied. We'll get into that. And the recommendations were as follows. I'm trying to remember, honestly, what I recommended to the both of them. An Accident of Stars and Soulless, I think. Or did I just recommend An Accident of Stars to both of them? It was those two books, but then they both ended up reading both of those books around the same time, but so I can't remember which one I actually recommended to each of them. For me though, Roger recommended The Bladed Faith by David Dalglish, which is adult, epic fantasy, and Elle recommended to me Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford, which is also, I'm pretty sure, adult and is kind of epic fantasy. And then you, my audience, the first one was Spark of the Divine by somebody, Louise Holland. And then the one that was the runner-up, almost one that I did end up also picking up, was Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. Both of these are also adult, epic fantasy, with varying subgenres for all four of these, of course. I will begin with the audience recommendations because I'm so sorry, dear audience, but your recommendations were the losers of this project. Because, shocking no one, I'm sure, I ended up DNFing both of them. Not shocking because you expected me to not like it, but I DNF a lot, and you guys know that. So, I'm sure several of you were like, who's to say it could go either way? Just Shauna might just DNF. And yeah, I did. I definitely did. The first one I picked up, though, was Spark of the Divine, like I said. And that one I'll read the synopsis for. And I will say, too, up front that neither one of these were DNFs due to hating them or being so ugh, this is hot garbage. Just not exactly to my taste enough. Yeah, Spark of the Divine, the synopsis here. Save the gods, save their realm. As a divine, May wields her strange gifts quietly as a mercenary until a simple rescue job sees the crew undercover a plot to steal divinity from the gods themselves. When the god May serves is attacked, she must restore their power before the seven realms are thrown into chaos. With the kingdom of Altaia already on the edge of war and the divinity of all gods at stake, the crew must travel beyond their country and their realm to save it. But each member has their own agenda, and secrets of romance and betrayal threaten to break them apart. And this one is originally inspired by a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and it is a series. And yeah, it's just reluctant heroes, fate of the world in the balance. And I read 21% of this. And yeah, it was just, I couldn't really put my finger on it exactly. There was just something that was proving to be a huge struggle for me to get momentum in this book. I just could not get momentum with it. Every time I would pick it up, my eyes would just kind of glaze over, and I was feeling brain fog a little bit. It just wasn't grabbing my interest. And I think it was just the flow of the story. Something about it wasn't clicking for me. One thing I did notice is that it felt a little choppy sometimes, where we would have like a conversation happening. So we'd have a little bit of dialogue. And then it would get broken up with like 1 to 3 pages of kind of internal monologue that usually was some kind of like exposition about the world or the characters. And then we'd jump back to the conversation, like to more dialogue, where I was like, wait, what were we talking about? What was this conversation? And it wasn't working for my brain, pretty much. Bummer times, just not for me, unfortunately. There were elements, I can see why people would think like it could be right up my alley, for sure. As is the case with recommendations though, you know what I mean? Like there's some boxes that can get checked off, but then if there's a couple other boxes that are like, no, it can kind of, you know, be a wash. And I feel like Roger will say I'm a writing style snob or something. I'm not a snob. I don't like very pretentious writing or anything like that. But I'm just particular. Like writing style can like throw me for a loop in a book. I can be liking so much about it, but if the writing style, the authorial voice is just not clicking with me, it's gonna stick in my craw. I can't like unsee it, you know? So then, from the audience recommendations, I picked up Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. And this is one that I've had on my radar for quite a while. Like, it's pretty popular in my corner of booktube, at least. And the synopsis for this one, Kieran grew up in the slums of Kur, I think, or Kur, a thief and a minstrel's son raised on tales of long-lost princes and magnificent quests. When he is claimed against his will as the missing son of a treasonous prince, Kieran finds himself at the mercy of his new family's ruthless power plays and political ambitions. Practically a prisoner, Kieran discovers that being a long-lost prince is nothing like what the storybooks promised. The storybooks have lied about a lot of other things too. Dragons, demons, gods, prophecies, and how the hero always wins. Then again, maybe he isn't the hero after all. For Kieran is not destined to save the world, he is destined to destroy it. Sounds freaking fun, and a lot of people find it really fun. Has very high ratings. This one I got 39% in. And for this, my curiosity was piqued, and that's what pushed me through. Were it not for my curiosity, I probably would have DNF'd like 10-15% in, because the story structure, it's told in dual timelines and 2 different characters telling the story. And part of it's Kieran telling this story, but then there's another character telling like the further back in the past part of the story. Something about it sometimes felt info dumpy as well, the story structure. Parts of it just felt a little clunky and a little hand wavy of like, don't worry about that. And I get kind of that I think the author was just trying to create that tension and that mystery, but sometimes it felt like I could see the author's hand in it too much, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't feel like this natural mystery and tension being created. It was like, I'm not going to tell you that right now. Bye-bye for now. That kind of thing. That's just how it was reading for me. And so I wasn't able to get really invested. And I was so confused in the first 20 to 30%. Like, genuinely was like, what in the actual fuck is going on with this story? Who is that and who is who? Like, I know who Kieran is and who that character, but there's several characters and I'm like, what is going on? Whose parents are who? And things did start coming together as far as all of that. Like, the plot points started okay, the puzzle pieces are clicking into place a little bit after 30%, but then I went up to 39% and I still, even though those things were okay, all right, I'm less confused now, I still was just kind of slogging through it. And it had been 2.5 weeks to get to this point, and I lost the interest. The curiosity died. I can see again why people would recommend it to me and think it could be a good one for me. But yeah, just another one that I get why people really like it if it works for them. It wasn't working for me. So I gave up because I'm not going to push through. Getting into Elle, her recommendation, and Roger's recommendation. Which one do you think I liked the most? Anybody have a guess? Let me know in the comments what your guess is, or if you want to wait and let me know if you were correct with your guess. They're not that far off. of each other, I'll tell you that, the ratings. But I will start with the one that came in second place, all right? So the one that came in second place was Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford. So that means Roger wins, and I'll talk about this book in a second. But yeah, Engines of Empire. So, it's paperback. I actually bought a copy of this myself years ago when Elle, I think, first was talking about this book, because it sounded like something that I would enjoy, and I suspected I might enjoy it, and the way she talked about it and everything. So yeah, she kind of gave me the little kick under the butt to actually read the thing. And the TLDR is that I did not hate this book by any means overall. For me personally, I found the characters to be quite insufferable most of the time. And also the pacing, it kind of threw me for a loop a couple of times. Wasn't my favorite. And like towards the end, there was like breakneck speed of like the plot points, all like this and that and the other thing happening, and it was like a lot. And there were in the end there some pretty like really cool epic moments, like little scenes that I was like, oh man, that'd be pretty badass to like see visually or whatever. Like that was a pretty badass scene, and the way it was written made it come across as epic and badass. So like that was cool. But it was just the things in between. Just, it didn't do it for me. And the writing style didn't like stick in my craw a bunch here, but it wasn't exactly like, there was something about it that it didn't flow, I think, in a way that like I really enjoyed. I don't know, the book in general, all the elements of it didn't feel like deep enough and like rich enough for what I wanted out of it, I guess. And yeah, we're following one of the families, one of the guild families in here, a mother and her 3 adult children as the main POVs. And later there is an additional POV that we get some chapters from that is outside of the family. But like, yeah, man, all the characters, the family members in particular, like I just found them being real dumb a lot of the time. Just like stupid decisions across the board from all of them in various ways. Where it's like, are you being for real right now? Also, one of the characters, the youngest kid, but again, they're all adults at this point. I think he might be like late teen, early 20s. He's younger, but like he's not 12. And Fulrin is his name. He in particular drove me so crazy. He has like this intense rage and vendetta against a character that in my opinion, it was not completely unfounded, but pretty fucking unfounded. Unless you are like a 12-year-old, like dumb kid who doesn't get it. But like, you're grown up now, you should be able to look at the situation. Like, it's not really a spoiler. It's like right in the beginning of the book. I won't like say names and details and stuff. Basically, his father is not in the picture. His dad died in a duel that his dad initiated. Okay, and in this world, people can choose to have like a champion fight in a duel for them. Whether they initiate the duel or someone else initiates the duel with them, they can pick someone to like fight in their place. And their dad chose not to. He's like, I'm gonna do it. And so he did, and he lost. And Fulrin hates the person that was in the duel with their dad, like so much that he like can't even like breathe when he thinks of this man. And it just, I was like in this world, the world you've shown me, that you've set up, duels seem pretty normal and common, and like, I don't know, it just seemed like such an immature thing to like, I could get being like, I don't really like this person, and like, yeah, even though my dad initiated it and like he chose to do it himself, like, and you maybe didn't want to kill him or even duel him in the first place, but like, yeah, you're the one that like did kill him, and so like, I don't really like you and I don't want to fuck with you. I can understand that, like that makes sense, but being like, oh, I'll get you someday, and like, he was like crazy with his rage against this man, and I was just like, are you 10 years old? Like, what do you not understand about this? I don't know, it just drove me nuts. And for me, just in general, the characters didn't have like the depth to them that I wanted. I don't know. There was just something about it that just felt a little superficial. So I gave this one 3 stars. Again, I didn't hate it. There were definitely entertaining moments, and there were bones there that like I enjoyed enough. You know what I mean? It wasn't a miserable ass time reading this book. It would have been rated way lower if that was the case. But yeah, just a very like, okay, I mean, was entertaining enough, and there were moments that I liked, and like there were some good bones here, but I don't feel compelled to continue with the series, and there were enough things that didn't work for me to make it just kind of a middle of the road. Like a thing I read, not a thing I love, and I'm so sorry, Elle, because I know she loves this. And I mean, I would recommend it to people. If you like adult epic fantasy, I mean, it's worth checking out to see if you would enjoy it, for sure. So, getting to our winner, chicken dinner. The synopsis for this guy: Cyrus was 14 when his gods were slain, his country invaded, and his parents, the king and queen, beheaded in front of him. After years held prisoner in the invaders' court, a mysterious group of revolutionaries breaks him free and gives him the chance for revenge that he's always dreamed of. In exchange, he will become the figurehead of their rebellion. He will become a hero to unite the people and strike fear in the heart of the Imperials. He will take up the skull mask and swords to become the legendary Vagrant, an unparalleled assassin of otherworldly skill. But all is not as it seems. Creating the illusion of a hero is the work of many, and Cyrus will soon discover the true price of his vengeance. I will preface this with, like I said, this was not rated a lot higher than the Engines of Empire. I gave this one 3.25 stars, so I didn't love this one either. I liked it enough to continue with the series to see if I like the second book more, basically. And the TLDR is, yeah, I had a good enough time for the most part. Once again, the pacing was a little off for me, and there were a few too many fight scenes. Fight scenes can get repetitive for me and fatigue me, and I started getting fight scene fatigue a little bit, where I was like, I can't get it, we're fighting. Sometimes there was cool action though, like there were moments in the fight scenes that would be like a cool description of a movement that I was like, oh, that's pretty badass. But then, it would just continue on and on and on. And I was like, all right. And then there'd be another fight, a chapter later. And then, a few chapters later, there's another fight. And there was just a lot of fights. And once again, I do wish that the characters had a little bit more dimension and depth to them, I guess. Right now, unless I really like the second book and, carry on with the series and enjoy it, I don't think I would reread this. But it'll depend. It'll depend on the second book. And yeah, the writing, the pacing, as I said, the middle section in particular felt a little bit like a slog for me. And once again, just something about the storytelling structure, the narrative structure, flow of it. It's one of those things that I don't know if I just don't have the words to put my finger on it, or I just haven't sat down to really analyze it enough to be able to put my finger on it. But there was just something about it that wasn't flowing in a way that really gelled with me. And Cyrus as the main character, I didn't hate him or anything. He didn't irritate me like some of the characters in Engines of Empire did. But he also is not really the type of character that resonates with me very much, or is super enjoyable for me to be in his POV reading about him. His whole insecure hero who is also so very moral, and we can tell that he's so moral because killing makes him uneasy forever, all the time, no matter who he's killing, no matter how evil the people he's killing are. He just always is like, oh, but I killed someone. It just gets tedious for me after a while. I don't know. I guess I want someone to be more ruthless and to be like, well, yeah, I don't love killing people. I'm not a murderer. It's not fun for me. But as an act of vengeance and in this war scenario, killing Nazis essentially, that, people who are being oppressive to others and colonizing and killing people and beheading people to take over countries. Yeah, fuck you, I'll kill you if I have to. I wish I didn't, but I have to kill you sometimes. And I don't know, it's one of those things, I've explained it before. It just feels like an author trying to be look what a good person they are. I'll prove it by showing how abhorrent killing is to them. Where I'm just you don't need to do that though. They can be a good person and a moral person, and in a world like this, in a situation like this, with a mission like this, I still think they're a good moral person, even if they kill some people ruthlessly sometimes, I don't know. And both things can be true. They can be man, it sucks that I have to kill these people who might just be soldiers and following orders, and they have families and stuff that love them, but also you're with the the baddies, the very big baddies who are slaughtering people by the thousands, you know? Like, sorry, you signed up for the wrong team. I don't know what to tell you. And also, religion is a big part of this, and I liked that element. I enjoyed that. But I did feel like, again, parts of it were just a little vague and like superficial with the religious elements, their like beliefs and like why they believe that, or what their traditions are and like why that's their tradition. Some things were explained, but overall it did feel a little vague and hand-wavy. So yeah, once again, not a bad time. I can see why Roger thought there's definitely elements to it that I liked, and there's bones there that are things I enjoy in stories, but if they're done in a slightly different way, you know. But we'll see. I might read the second book and be like, now we're cooking with gas. Let's go. I hope so, because there were things about it that I really liked. The gods among us and everything, like, it was really cool, parts of it. So I'm just really crossing my fingers that the sequel kind of ups the ante for me and comes together better for me. So yeah, Roger wins with the 3.25 rating. I feel like such a hater. I swear I'm not. I read things that I like. I did tell Roger that I think probably it didn't help him or Elle, or those books rather, it didn't help Engines of Empire or The Bladed Faith that I was rereading the Manifold Worlds series by Foz Meadows, An Accident of Stars, and A Tyranny of Queens. I was rereading those right around the same time that I was reading these, and like, those books are just they're delicious to me. There's so much to sink your teeth into, for me to sink my teeth into, with the characters, the depth of it all, the cultural elements of these worlds that are created. Like, it's all just so rich and delicious. Inevitably, of course, I have those in my head as I'm also reading these and like comparing, and I, you know, can't really help it. Where I was like, oh man, I wish it was a little more like that. Like, I know what that feeling is. I just read those recently, and I kind of want that from this, but I'm not quite getting it. So, you know, maybe there was an unfair disadvantage. But it is what it is. It was just the timing. Thank you everyone in the audience who voted, who gave recommendations. And I will tell you guys too, I have a list in Storygraph, or I have a shelf in Storygraph. I tag anytime someone, I do tag like booktuber, like recommendations, just like videos I see of people saying like, I loved this book, and like their description of it. I'm like, oh, I think I might like that. I tag like which booktuber is where I heard of the book. But when you guys give me recommendations in the comment section, if it's like the first time I've heard of this book, I will tag it as booktube comment rec, and then like your username. So like Esme, I have a whole bunch from Esme in Storygraph, and someday I think I want to do a video kind of like this, like a little project video, for those in particular where it's genuinely you guys telling me, hey, you should read this book, Shoshana, right? The booktuber ones aren't so much them actually recommending to me personally. It's just them saying, I like this book, it's great. So yeah, I might do that someday too, just to, because I tag it and then I carry on, you know what I mean? But I can search in Storygraph and find all the list of my to-read books that have those tags on it. And it might be a fun little project to do as well. So definitely always feel free to give me recommendations. Whether or not I'll like them is very much 50-50, hit or miss. I might DNF at the drop of a hat. Let me know if you are shocked and surprised by my thoughts on any of these. And if you've read any of these, if you like loved them or hated them or whatever, feel free to share in the comments below, or just leave an emoji if you want to let me know that you were watching. Always appreciate it too. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.